You know, one day I would like to run as good as the Chubb people run. Yeah. Max Payne, when he falls in the end zone twice to bail out the slappies. But hey, we move on, is what it is. But yeah, we got an interesting showdown, I'll say that. Philadelphia and Houston. If you guys are new, welcome. My name is DK. Again, we'll be covering the Thursday Night Football Showdown slate. Also make videos for NBA DFS as well as Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the sponsor of this video. You can use the code DKDFS for a 100% match up to $100. They have player props up for Thursday night's game, so give it a try. Again, they have a lot of different sports you can mix and match, and make sure to use that code to take advantage of that free money. If you guys are looking for premium content, you can check out my Patreon, linked down below. I offer a lot of different packages. Okay, so as I said, it's an interesting showdown slate. Philadelphia and Houston, 44 over under. The Eagles are 13.5 point favorites. So we'll start off on the Eagles side, which is pretty easy to talk about. Jalen Hurts, one of the best plays in the slate, probably the best, overall, disregarding ownership. A guy with high floor because of his rushing upside. Only ran the ball 10 times, or 2 times for 10 yards last game, but he just didn't need to. They were playing from a massive lead. So, yeah, love Hurts. He's probably going to be 90+% owned, but hard not to like him here. So he looks great. As far as the top wide receivers, well, A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, those are the top 2 wide receivers. Brown's 11.2, Smith is 8.2K. Both have a ceiling. We've seen some games. We've seen some pretty big games from Devonta Smith. 33 fantasy points here, almost 20 a couple times. And we've also seen some pretty big games from A.J. Brown. 42 here, 28 here. So the top 2 wide receivers both look good. They should play a majority of the game. They didn't play as much last week. That's because at the very end, it was just a massive blowout, so they didn't need to. But expect both those wide receivers in a competitive game to play close to 100% of the snaps. So both Brown and Smith look really good. I think point per dollar might slightly prefer Smith, but you can't go wrong with either. You could play them both together if you want to. So the 2 top wide receivers look great. It's a good matchup against Houston as well. Miles Sanders. So I'm going to be on full tilt mode if this guy falls into the end zone. I'm just going to tell you that right now. It is technically a 3-headed monster. So he is not a bell cow back. He is working in with Scott. He's working in with Kenneth Gainwell. We saw it 2 games ago. We saw it last game. 29 snaps for Sanders, 13 for Scott, 14 for Gainwell. So, yeah, he is in play for sure. He's in play for sure. He's still their number 1 back. But you're going to see carries for Gainwell, and you're going to see third down work for Gainwell, and you're going to see short yardage carries for Boston Scott, and you probably see some red zone carries for Boston Scott as well. So, while I think Sanders is a totally fine play, he's probably going to be overowned. And for that reason, I'm most likely going to fade, and then he's going to fall into the end zone 3 times for the Jewelers. So, yeah, Sanders, again, totally fine. But in my opinion, based on what we've seen so far from showdown slates, he's probably going to be overowned. The Eagles defense at $7,000 for the Eagles defense. It's pricey. Now, are they out of play? No. It also will come down to ownership. If you get a situation where a defense at this price point is pushing 50+%, like, what was the last showdown where what was the defense that was like 50+% owned, and they got, the Patriots defense, and the people got rightfully punished for playing a defense at that high of ownership. So comes down to ownership for the Eagles. Obviously, they're still in play, but $7K is a lot to pay for a defense. Dallas Goedert at 6'6". I think he's a pretty safe option. Normally a guy with a relatively high floor outside of the 1 week that I played him against Dallas. Other than that, he's hovering in the 10 to 15 fantasy point range. So not as high of a ceiling as those wide receivers, but usually a pretty high floor for Goddard. I think he's a pretty safe option there. Gainwell, 5K. He is going to see some carries. He'll see some, receiving work as well. I think at this price point, he's a bit overpriced, but doesn't make him completely out of play. I would say more of a contrarian option. Jake Elliott at 4.8K. The Eagles are expected to put up a lot of points, so Elliott, may have some field goal opportunities. I think he's a good option. He'll be much more popular than the Houston Texan kicker. Wide receiver 3, it's a split kind of between Quez Watkins and Zach Pascal. So last game, Quez Watkins played 37 snaps, and Pascal played 23. So if I had to give the edge to one, it actually would be Quez Watkins at 1.4 over Pascal. Pascal a little bit pricier. He did have 2 catches last week and a touchdown, but for me, I would give the edge to Watkins. Just rather go to more opportunities. And I don't hate Boston Scott either. 1.8K. saw 7 carries last week. I mean, he will still be in a competitive game against Dallas the week before. He saw 6 carries. So he's a guy that they can bring in short yardage situations, right? He had a touchdown week 1. So 1.8K, I think he's a viable value play for sure. So that is kind of it for the Eagles. Backup tight end is Jack Stahl. He's more of a blocker. He played 30 snaps last game, but only ran a route on 9. So again, nothing more than a dart throw. Third string tight end is this guy, Grant Alcantara. He played 12 snaps, ran around 2, so probably can't go there. Now we talk about Houston, and this is where it gets really tricky. So the top 2 guys are a little bit easy to talk about. Outside of that, yeah. So Davis Mills, 9K. He's their starting quarterback. Not a guy really with a high ceiling, but it should be good game script. They should be playing from behind. He's not going to be super popular. Fine with Davis Mills. As always, quarterbacks in the showdowns, slates are usually, pretty high floor plays, safe plays. So if you want to play Davis Mills, I think that's totally fine. Dameon Pierce at 8.6. So he is their RB1 and a guy that in a competitive game or, neutral game script where they're playing from ahead, he'll see a lot of opportunities. But if they fall behind big, which they definitely could in this game, it's almost a 14-point spread, he could get phased out a little bit. So I like Pierce. He's probably the most talented player on offense, and he is a bit involved in the passing game. But if they fall behind real bad, if they fall behind 3 scores, they probably abandon the run a bit more and maybe look to a guy like Rex Burkhead. And we know Nico Collins is out. He's the wide receiver too, and it doesn't look like Brandon Cooks is going to play. He's questionable. Non-participant both Tuesday and Wednesday, and he wasn't happy they didn't get traded, so we will see about that. If Cooks ends up taking the field, then yeah, he's the wide receiver you're going to feel the best about. He's been their most consistent wide receiver. Would be a decent option. Now, if he misses, that's where I said this is where things get really, really, really interesting. So last game, wide receiver 2 was Philip Dorsett. And where is... So he played 45 of the 54 snaps, Philip Dorsett. Wide receiver 3 playing in the slot was Chris Moore. He played 34 snaps. Wide receiver 4 was Tyron Johnson. He played 5 snaps. So, looking at the price points, we have Dorsett here at 4K. I think he's the guy that I feel the best about of these cheap Houston wide receivers because with Collins out last game, Dorsett was the wide receiver 2. Like Dorsett for value. Now, if there's no Brandon Cooks, they can do a couple things. They can move Chris Moore out wide, who played a lot of snaps last game but didn't do anything, or they could go to Tyrone Johnson at the flat min price and play him out wide. So $200, even though he didn't play a lot last game, if there's no Brandon Cooks, you could see Tyron Johnson playing a lot, and he would be someone that would be intriguing. And yeah, Chris Moore, again, he didn't do anything last game, but still playable as well. Should be their slot wide receiver with Nico Collins out. And then Rex Burkhead's the RB2. He's more of their passing down guy. Again, if they fall behind big time like they did here against the Raiders, he's a guy that could be viable on the slate. He had 6 targets here, 5 targets here, 5 targets here. So a little bit interested in Burkhead. Again, kind of game flow dependent, though. He needs the Texans to fall behind big time for Rex Burkhead to be viable. Jaime Fairbairn 3.8 is definitely a viable option. He's going to be way lower owned than the Eagles kicker. Texans D, probably not for me, but you never know. Any team can get a pick 6. So, yeah, Dare Ogunbowale is the RB3. I'm not going to go there. He did play 3 snaps last week. And then the tight ends are also some interesting value plays. So 3 tight ends played. O.J. Howard started, played 27 of the 54 snaps. Brevin Jordan played 30 of the 54. And Jordan Akins played 14 of the 54. Now, O.J. Howard ran a route in 12 of the 27 snaps. Brevin Jordan ran around 18 of the 30 snaps. And Jordan Akins ran around 12 of the 14 snaps. So all 3 of these tight ends are running routes. I don't really have any strong leans here. O.J. Howard had 2 catches and 3 targets last week. Brevin Jordan had 2 catches on 4 targets. Jordan Akins played the least, but still had 1 catch and 2 targets. So they're all kind of just put them in. Again, get that dartboard out. Put all 3 names in a dartboard. Throw a dart. They're all look pretty similar. Akins probably the riskiest because he played the least, but still a guy that is playable. And yeah, that's it. Again, we mentioned Tyrone Johnson. Wide receiver 4 if there's no Brandon Cooks. So again, the top 3 would be Dorsett, Johnson, Moore. Wide receiver 4 would be John Mechie, the 3rd, whatever that is, but he is out. So they may call up someone from the practice squad if there's no Cooks. So I don't think they want to just have 3 wide receivers on the team. But yeah, that's going to wrap it up for the video, guys. Hope this video did help. Again, it's a tricky show on the slate for sure, but hey, there's still big money up top. So hopefully one of you guys watching can take down the 500K to first. But if you enjoyed, just make sure to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I will see you all in the next video.